Hello everyone, we are today about the 9th answer writing test 1 क्वेश्चन 1 देख लेते हैं ILP का। Shed a light on the importance of the stupas detail there the architecture feature introduction. Stupas is other hemispheric structures and which is the symbolized and burial mound of the Buddhas. It is rose to the prominence and after the advance of the Buddhism and peak during the Ashoka's regime and stupas evolved as the courtons in the Tibet and the pagodas in East Asia. Importance of stupas: religious importance and resilience and repository is in begin stupas were built and to the venerate and the safeguard and release and the remains of Buddha. Remains of Buddhas and sacred the place along with the monasteries. Circumambulations and path and important Buddhism rituals and around the path surround it. Object of the venerations, it is believed and that the release of Buddhas and body were buried within the stupas. Philosophicals: meditation, it is an the important place for the meditations and the commemoratives and in the Tibetan tradition, stupas were built to the celebrated the fire event of Buddha, symbolized the stupas in capability, capsulates and the teachings and ideologies of Buddha and Dhammak. And stupas at the Sarnath marks the pole, sports and where the Buddhas and give his the first and the sermons after the training. Enlightenment revealing his the eightfold path and leadings to the nirvanas. Historical: provide information about the various dynasties and who ruled in the India in Mauryans, Bharat and stupas, Sanchi stupas and the Bharhut stupas, etc. Satvahanas and the Amravati stupas, etc. Architecture: oldest stone structures the stupas at the Sanchi and the Bharhut are one of the oldest stones structures in India. The gateways and torrents and were the carved of the stone and decorated with the narratives and sculptures with Jataka's themes. Stone was replaced with the booms in the latter stupas, evidence of the aniconism. And Buddha was the depicted only the through and symbols in the earlier stupas include of the text in narrative panels aid the Bharhut queens and Maya dreams use of marbles. Aid Amravati stupas and the Takshila and excavations reveals stupas with the bodhisattvas and images and Gandhara's influences and the patronage of Kanishkas. Diplomatic: stupas reflects the ancient ties and between India and Southeast Asia nation. They will help and India's implement it is act. East policy. Architectural features: Chetri जो टीवी Cheri Anda and Medhi and the Harmikas Yasti Torana Vedikas and the Padakshinath. और सो गए हुए तो बंद कर दिए. Pradakshinath stupas is other architecture through the religious characters and assimilated the secular religious folks at the art practices of the past and the traditions of the alliance art, and thus the contributed to the development of art in India. Additional detail: hemisphericals mouth anda and the anda's domains and shape the recalls are the mouth of the dirt, and that was the used to cover the Buddha remain. The earliest stupas contain actual release of the Buddhas and the release and the chambers buried deep the inside the anda. The anda is called the tabena. Over time, this hemispherical mouth and has taken on in the events and grander symbolic associations. The mountains, home of the god, at the center of the universe, square railings, hermicas. The hermicas is inspired and by squares and railing or fans that surrounded the mound of the dirt and markings it, and the screed buried side a central pillar supporting other triples and the umbrellas from the chetras. The chetras in the turn was the derived and from the umbrellas, and that were the placed over the mound to protect it and from the elements. The three circulars and umbrellas like the disc and represents the three and jewels or three ratnas and of the Buddhism, and which is the key and to the true understanding of the faith. Buddha's dharmas, Buddhist teaching or the religious law, and sanghas, monasteries, community. The enclosures and well with the decorated and gateway the toranas and aid the enclosure well with the decorated and gateways, torans, and eight the cardinal directions. The wall and with its the trademark and three the horizontals and stones, and bars the surrounded and the entire structures a circular torans made. The torans and surrounding by other smaller similars and the how did architecture change during and medieval time and briefly the discuss in the context of the Islamic influence on the Indian architecture. Introductions established the establishment of the Turkey rules and in India's and the marks the beginnings of other new phase in the history of the Indian arts and the architectures. The establishment of the Turkey rule in India marks the beginnings of other new phase in the history of the Indian arts and the architectures, and their style was the significant different from the tradition Indian architecture style and the fusion of the Persian and Indian style in the architectures of the followings in the period, and the resulted in the government in the development of the Indo and the Islamic architectures of or the Indo and the Saracenics and the architectures. Medieval architecture मौसोलम्स टॉम्स होते थे उसमें. मौसम्स बॉम्ब होता है, प्लेस फोर्सेस होती हैं, एंड मिडिवल्स आर्किटेक्चर मौसम्स एंड मोनूमेंट्स बिल्डिंग और वाटर बॉडीज एंड मिडिवल आर्किटेक्चर्स में। चार्जेस ड्यूरिंग द मिडिवल्स टाइम्स। मिडिवल्स टाइम्स में चार्जेस होते थे अनसाइंड एंड द एग्रीकल्चरल्स। Unsigned architecture, medieval architectures are designs, and the Travet architecture and arcued architectures. Lighten fleets and roofs and flow and lines over the pillars in the right angle shapes. Mm, Arc the correlates and arc and true arcs. The arcuates and forms of the construction was introduced gradually, in which the arches and the support the weight of the domes. Top use of the shikhas and bimana. Use of the shikhas and bimanas, and they are the generally conians and curvilious dome, generally hemispherics, and minars and upsand and minars were presented in the four corners of the mosque and meant and for the azan and announcement. Material stone is the primary material for all the construction, and stone bricks, slimes and the mortar was the introduced in the medieval period, and only other the features of the Indo-Islamic architecture in the avoided the human representations in their the architectural things and influence on the Hindu and Jain architectures, and they the provided the spaciousness massiveness and the breadth and to the exciting Hindu and the Jain architecture. They focus on the decoration through the calligraphy, and the arabesques is the vegetations pattern, and which is the systematically and the similars on the other sides. The arabesque, they used various and the florals designs and the geometricals, and they used and various the floral design geographical shapes and decorate the building and include all the jorokhas and boomans in light to inside. It influenced Rajasthani and the Sikh architectures and the arc spaces, use of the water and mountains and the courtyard pools, and on the premises introduce use of the water and mountain. Use of water mountain and the courtyard pools on the premises in introduction of the foreground and karbag and charbag styles, and use of the patran and dura techniques on opuse the sectiles and proceeds and semi the precious stones and colored the marbles and were the inlaid on the wall. Use of the four and the sighted and techniques to create and the illusions of 3D used and by the Mughals constructions.